Cage awakens from a doze on a helicopter trip to London in the UK the morning of the day before the operation to retake Europe. He meets with the commander of the Western Allies, General Brigham, assuming the general wants Cage to help him boost his public image or prepare for a post-war political career. Instead, the general orders Cage to accompany the first wave of Allied troops to land in France and provide ground coverage for the media. Cage, who is a cadet in college and has no experience in the field, tries various tactics to avoid the deployment, culminating with trying to blackmail the general via the media. At first the general seems to relent, but has his guards taser Cage instead. Cage wakes up on a pile of duffel bags in the afternoon at Heathrow Airport, which has been turned into a military base. A sergeant shoves boots into his hands and calling him maggot before another sergeant named Farrell takes over. It turns out General Brigham sent orders to Farrell stating Cage had tried to desert and had now been demoted from an officer to private. Cage is assigned to a band of eccentric soldiers, J Squad, who are caught gambling by Farrell when Cage is introduced to them. Farrell forces J Squad to eat the cards they are gambling with and then instructs them to get Cage ready to deploy with them tomorrow. Cage is immediately taken by the squad for physical training. The next day is Invasion Day and Cage is a nervous wreck. He is fitted into a suit and the members of J Squad don't even bother teaching him how to take his weapon off safe mode as they believe he will die quickly. As soon as they are about to drop from aircraft onto the French coast, however, the back of their airship explodes and the squad drops down prematurely. Even though the operation to retake Europe was supposed to be a surprise attack, the mimics are completely prepared and ambush and slaughter the humans. Sergeant Vertovsky also lands on the beach but is killed within minutes. The surviving members of J Squad are all killed rapidly. Still shell-shocked and about to die, Cage grabs a claymore mine as a giant blue mimic jumps on him. The ensuing blast kills the mimic and Cage, but not before the blue mimic's blood seeps onto Cage. Cage awakes in a panic on top of the duffel bags, with the same sergeant calling him maggot and Farrell again taking him to J Squad. Despite his desperate attempt to explain what is happening and that the mimics will ambush everyone, nobody believes him. Each time, he is deployed and dies, only to wake up again on the duffel bags. With each loop, he becomes slightly more adept at trying to save the members of J Squad and Vertovsky, but the mimics are too numerous and always kill everyone. In one loop, he survives long enough to tell Vertovsky that he is stuck in some time loop. Recognizing what happened, Vertovsky tells Cage, "Find me when you wake up," before they both die again. Cage awakens on the duffel bags again, but starts cooperating with Sergeant Farrell and J Squad in order to buy himself time to find Vertovsky. After several fatal attempts in the base at slipping away, Cage finally manages to get away from PT and finds Vertovsky in a training base surrounded by training drones. The Special Forces soldiers are all hostile towards him and Vertovsky greets him rudely, but when he explains Vertovsky asked for him, she whisks him away to a weapons building bay where her acquaintance Carter works. Once there, they go to a back room and Cage gets an explanation from Vertovsky and Carter. Vertovsky was also stuck in a time loop in Verdun, explaining how she came to be able to kill hundreds of mimics single-handedly by the final loop. The loop was created by the blood of the large blue alpha mimic. Ordinary mimics are human-sized and orange, but once the looper receives a human blood transfusion, the loop proceeds to train Cage, killing him a few times when he is injured so that he awakes on the duffels and starts over again. Cage and Vertovsky become much improved in combat on the beach, but despite everything, they both keep dying and Cage loops over and over. Cage grows attracted to Vertovsky and watching her die over and over again also starts to take an emotional toll. Cage receives a mental vision in one loop that the Omega is in a dam in Germany. Vertovsky and Carter believe the visions are due to Cage in effect being an alpha after being infected with the blue blood, and that the alphas and the Omega have the power to manipulate time and perception. As such, Cage and Vertovsky focus their efforts on surviving on the invasion beach and cutting inland to Germany. After multiple failures and deaths, Cage and Vertovsky Cage eventually succeeds in making it to the German dam alone, but finds nothing and is almost imprisoned by the mimics before he manages to drown himself. In the next loop, Cage, Vertovsky, and Carter put the pieces together and figure out the visions, and Vertovsky's success in Verdun was all a ruse by the Omega mimic Overmind. The Omega had let the humans win at Verdun in order to lure the humans into invading Europe, where all the human armies would be ambushed and annihilated. With no other leads, the device Carter made which got him fired is their last shot. Vertovsky and Cage switch focus to getting the device, which is in the possession of General Brigham. After several fatal failures, they manage to get the device and stab it into Cage's leg. Cage then sees the true location of the Omega, in the Louvre Museum in Paris. After seeing this, their getaway car crashes, and the airbag knocks out Vertovsky before she can kill Cage. Cage awakens strapped to a hospital gurney, under arrest. He realizes he is out of the loop now as he was given a blood transfusion following the car crash. Vertovsky breaks the two of them out. But with no more loops left and only several hours before the doomed invasion, Cage decides to go back to the base and find the misfit J-Squad to take them to Paris. Cage's now intimate knowledge of J-Squad and Vertovsky credibility convinces J-Squad, and they all take an aircraft and fly to Paris. Once at the Louvre kills Vertovsky. The Omega senses Cage and sends the Alpha back to catch Cage. The Alpha dives after Cage and stabs him, but Cage pulls all the grenade pins and drops the belt into the Omega. The Omega explodes and dies, and all the mimics die with it. As Cage dies, the Omega's blood seeps into him, much like the Alpha's blood did at the start. Cage wakes up shocked and finds himself on the helicopter trip to London from the morning before the invasion. He lands and sees on the news that after mysterious explosions in Paris, the mimics have all died off and the human forces will commence sweeping through Europe the next day. All the members of J-Squad are seen alive and well as Cage arrives in the base. Cage goes to find Vertovsky, but whereas now everyone treats him with respect as he is a major once more, when he finds Vertovsky she greets him with the same rudeness as she did each time they first met in every loop. Seeing this, Cage breaks out into a big grin. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos.